The stories you are about to hear will be heard for the first time on this channel. They may harm you psychologically. I would appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. Good vibes. Casper had always cherished his evenings. There was something inherently comforting about the solitude of his small, cozy home in the quiet town of Darlington. At 26, he was content with his life, enjoying the simplicity and tranquility it offered. That night, as he meticulously prepared dinner, he felt a sense of anticipation. His girlfriend, Lily, was coming over, and he wanted everything to be perfect. The aroma of roasted chicken and herbs filled the kitchen, mingling with the faint scent of the vanilla candles he had lit earlier. Everything seemed to be going according to plan until a knock on the door disrupted his peaceful evening. Casper glanced at the clock, puzzled. Lily wasn't supposed to arrive for another half an hour. Wiping his hands on a towel, he walked to the door, curiosity mingling with a hint of unease. As Casper opened the door, he found himself face to face with a man he had never seen before. The stranger was tall, with a gaunt face and piercing blue eyes that seemed to look right through him. "Good evening," the man said, his voice smooth but unsettling. "May I come in? I need to have a little chat." Before Casper could respond, the man pushed past him and entered the house, moving with a strange familiarity. Stunned, Casper followed the man into the living room, his mind racing with questions. Who was this man? Why did he feel so unnerved by his presence? The stranger made himself comfortable on the couch, looking around as if he owned the place. Casper stood awkwardly by the door, unsure of what to do. "I'm sorry, but do I know you?" He finally managed to ask, his voice sounding small and uncertain. The man smiled, a chilling expression that did little to put Casper at ease. "Oh, we've never met," he said casually, "but I feel like I know you quite well, Casper." The use of his name sent a shiver down Casper's spine. He hadn't introduced himself, and the realization made him feel even more vulnerable. The stranger began to talk, his words flowing in a nonsensical yet mesmerizing stream. He spoke of places that didn't exist, events that couldn't have happened, and people who seemed to be plucked from a nightmare. Casper listened, trapped in a bizarre and uncomfortable situation, his sense of reality slipping away with each passing minute. After what felt like an eternity, the man paused and looked around. "I need to use your bathroom," he announced abruptly, standing up and heading down the hallway before Casper could protest. The door to the bathroom closed with a click, leaving Casper alone in the living room, grappling with a mix of confusion and dread. The minutes ticked by, each one stretching longer than the last. Casper's mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. Who was this man, and why had he chosen his home to invade? After 15 minutes had passed, Casper's unease grew unbearable. He walked to the bathroom door and knocked gently. "Are you okay in there?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. There was no response. Casper knocked again, louder this time. "Hello? Are you all right?" Still, there was no answer. Fear clawed at his chest as he tried the door handle, but it was locked. Panic started to take hold, and he rushed back to the living room, his heart pounding in his chest. As he rounded the corner, he stopped dead in his tracks. In the center of the room, Lily was sitting in a chair, her hands and feet bound with thick ropes. Her eyes were wide with terror, and she was desperately trying to scream through the gag that muffled her voice. Casper's mind went blank with shock. How had she gotten there? He had been in the house the whole time. As he moved closer, Lily's muffled cries became more frantic. "No, don't come any closer," she managed to scream through the gag, her eyes darting behind him. Casper froze, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. Slowly, he turned around and saw the man standing there, a cruel smile on his face. "You really should be more careful about who you let into your home, Casper," the stranger said, his voice dripping with malice. Casper's breath caught in his throat as the man took a step forward, the room suddenly feeling much smaller and more oppressive. He could see the madness in the man's eyes, a chilling glimpse into a mind that had long since lost its tether to reality. The man moved with a predatory grace, circling around Casper as if savoring his fear. "You see," he began, his tone almost conversational, "I've been watching you for quite some time. You live such a peaceful, ordinary life. It's almost boring. I thought you could use a little excitement." Casper's thoughts raced, searching for a way out of this nightmare. His eyes darted to the phone on the coffee table, but the man noticed his glance and shook his head. "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you," he said, his smile widening. "We wouldn't want anything unfortunate to happen, now would we?" Casper's mind screamed for him to do something, anything, but his body felt paralyzed with fear. The man continued to speak, his words twisting and warping in Casper's mind. He spoke of dark secrets and hidden truths, of things that lurked in the shadows just beyond the edge of perception. As the man talked, the room seemed to close in around Casper, the walls pressing in as if to suffocate him. He glanced at Lily, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and desperation. He needed to find a way to save her, to get both of them out of this nightmare. In a desperate bid to regain some control, Casper forced himself to speak. "What do you want?" he demanded, his voice shaky but determined. The man laughed, a sound that sent chills down Casper's spine. "What do I want?" he echoed, as if the question amused him. "I want to show you the truth, Casper. The truth about yourself, about this world, about the things that lie hidden beneath the surface." He stepped closer, his eyes boring into Casper's. "But first, we need to play a little game." Casper's heart pounded in his chest as the man outlined the rules of his twisted game. They were simple, yet filled with a sinister undertone. Casper had to find a way to free Lily and get out of the house before midnight. If he failed, the man promised that the consequences would be dire. With a final, chilling smile, the man retreated into the shadows, leaving Casper to grapple with the terror that threatened to overwhelm him. The clock on the wall ticked ominously, each second a reminder of the limited time he had to save himself and Lily. Casper's mind raced as he tried to formulate a plan. He needed to act quickly, but his fear threatened to paralyze him. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "Okay, think," he muttered under his breath. He glanced around the room, looking for anything that could help him. His eyes fell on a pair of scissors on the coffee table. It wasn't much, but it was a start. He grabbed the scissors and rushed over to Lily, who was still struggling against her bonds. "Hold still," he whispered, his hands shaking as he began to cut through the ropes. As the ropes fell away, Lily let out a sob of relief. "Casper, we have to get out of here," she whispered urgently, her eyes darting around the room. "He's dangerous. We need to find a way to escape." Casper nodded, his resolve hardening. He helped Lily to her feet, and together they began to search for an exit. The house, which had always felt like a safe haven, now seemed like a labyrinth of shadows and hidden dangers. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside seemed to carry a threat. They moved cautiously, trying to stay as quiet as possible. The man could be anywhere, watching their every move. As they reached the front door, Casper's heart sank. The door was locked, and the key was nowhere to be found. "Damn it," he cursed under his breath. "We need to find another way out." Lily pointed to the window in the living room. "What about that?" she suggested. Casper nodded, and they hurried over to the window, their movements frantic. But as they tried to open it, they realized it was nailed shut. A sense of hopelessness began to creep in, but Casper refused to give up. "There has to be another way," he insisted, more to himself than to Lily. They made their way to the back of the house, where Casper remembered there was a small cellar door that led outside. His heart pounded with a mix of hope and fear as they approached the door, but when he tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. It was locked from the outside. Casper's frustration boiled over, and he pounded on the door with his fists. "Damn it! We're trapped!" Lily grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with fear. "Casper, we need to stay calm. There has to be a way out of here." Her voice was trembling, but it carried a strength that gave Casper a glimmer of hope. He nodded, taking a deep breath to steady himself. They had to think logically, to outsmart the man who had trapped them. As they stood there, trying to come up with a plan, they heard a faint sound coming from upstairs. It was a slow, deliberate creaking, like someone was walking around. Casper felt a chill run down his spine. The man was still in the house. "We need to hide," he whispered urgently.